Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another set of videos in which we continue to learn about Business Central, how we configure things, how we navigate, and of course some tips that I tend to give and in order to give a proper and a better demo to your clients so they can buy in to see what Business Central has to offer. So it's a very nice and easy cloud solution to use if you are small to mid-size organizations. So today's video is going to be more of conceptual, very process oriented rather than how you can configure things because the configuration part is very easy to do. Rather, it's the accounting aspect and the process of an organization or of how you actually do or carry out that activity. So today we're going to be actually talking about employees and paying your employees, for instance. So the idea here is to actually know that the integration has been established. Even though we don't have the integration established here, this is a demo environment, but the intention is to understand and know and acknowledge that the integration with the payroll system has been established. And we will be creating some sort of a file that we will be uploading to the payroll module. But in our case, we won't be doing that, of course, but that's the accounting behind it. That's the ERP sort of a solution behind paying your employees, for instance, or even paying their expenses. But we're going to be talking about the process here more than how the file will look like or how you can configure it. So Business Central actually supports transactions for all employees. So we've already know how we can do that in the general journals. And accordingly, employees have their own posting groups. So that's something we're going to talk about and how these posting groups have associated GL accounts. So something that you obviously need to know from an accounting perspective. So if you don't know what posting groups are, make sure to visit one of my videos. So going into the actual employees, let's have a look at the employee card. So in here we have quite a few employees and let's go into one of the employees. So a very similar table with familiar fields as the vendor and customer. The only new thing that you would see is the administration because the employment start date, for instance, we have to provide the status we have to provide and anything else that you may think would be useful to carry out your transaction. Major things are to configure is the employee posting group. Of course, that's what we talked about, where the GL accounts are being set up, and we need to know which accounts are being debited. The bank account, of course, we would need to know. So when we do create an EFT, which is electronic fund transfer, which is the most common way I've seen in my implementations that is being used by the organizations. So they create an EFT file and upload that into their payroll module where the payroll is being processed. So it's a third-party organization that actually takes care of the payroll for their clients, basically. So basic things to actually note in order to carry out a transaction against an employee is like their posting group for sure. And of course, at some point, we're going to talk about jobs module. So we can use this employee as a resource towards a job that we hire them for or that we delegate to them. And based on that, if they are part of the project, for instance, then we will going to be calculating WIP and everything. So that exciting stuff is actually happening in the jobs module. But here we're going to talk about very simple stuff about how you configure employees, which you kind of did, and how we can use them towards the payment. So in here, you can also see the pay employee. So we're going to be not going to be paying an employee just yet because we haven't actually created any transactions against them. We haven't actually debited any amount, or well, in our case, we're going to be crediting them because from organization perspective, that's what we're going to look at. So we're going to be giving away money to these employees, but in our accounting system, we're going to be debiting that expense. So in order to do that, actually, we have to go into the general journals, and that's the basic process that you need to understand from the accounting perspective. So we're going to every time we're going to be actually, debiting a employee, we're going to be using general journals for the expenses. So create a general journal batch and then name it as the employee expense or something, and that's the one that you're going to be using. So I'll just use the default one for now, and just to go through the process, we will be just demonstrating that and then going through it. So you can give it a document number, for instance, and at this point, if everything is okay, we'll give it an amount of 520, for instance. So that's the debit amount that we're going to be debiting towards Esther Henderson that we've yet to pay from an organization's bank account. And your balancing account could be your GL account. In this case, it should be the most appropriate one that we can think of, and that's where your organization will come in and then help you with that. So we can probably choose an expense account. If I can find one that might exist in the system, that would help us. So let's see if we can get. I guess I'm going to choose any random one in this case, just so we can continue with our video. And these are all the expense account, but I don't see any relevant one. So let's put miscellaneous. These are always the easiest one to work with. And we can give any dimensions that we would like, but let's leave it as is. So by the time you post this, so let's have a quick look at this preview posting and see if everything is okay. So we're debiting a 520 amount, everything's good. We can look at the GL entry, we can see the accounting entries associated with it. So let's give it a try and then post this and see. So that has been successfully posted. Now if we go back into the employee, there should be an amount of 520 that we owe them. So in this case we don't have that. Let's have a quick look at their accounts. So I'm going to be looking at their history, or maybe not. So quite a few things have been changed here from last time I actually was here. So that's why it's taking a bit longer for me to actually navigate through, because I don't spend too much time on this Business Central. So ledger entries it is. That's what we're going to look at. So now you could see the document number 1541. The employee name is there, and it's the 520 amount that we owe them. So this is where we're going to actually make a payment to. So now in this case, if the payroll module was integrated, we would go into the vendor payment journal. So let's go into the payment journal. In here, you would actually create a payment for that employee. And then you're gonna, instead of posting it, you would actually create an EFT file. And you would upload that EFT file into a bank portal, for instance. And once that payment has been processed, you've been notified that it's been processed, the money has been sent to your employee's bank account, then you come back here and then post that. So that on its own is the process of paying employees in Business Central, assuming that the integration with the payroll module has been taken care of, has been integrated very nicely, and it works. Everything is working, and you're able to post your transactions, and you're able to actually process the third-party payroll module is able to process all your transactions based on the vendor payment journal that you actually create. So that is the basic process and concept that you need to understand in order to play your employees as an expense. Similar format of playing your vendors, for instance, and you simply create an EFT file or a wire file, and you upload that into your bank portal, and then the bank actually processes it, and your third-party payroll module simply actually processes the transactions from your accounting perspective. So with that, I'm going to leave you to explore Business Central on your own moving forward from here, and then I hope to see you again in my next video.